That's one of the things right that I think a lot of superhero movies do wrong, which is, in my opinion, a lot of more mediocre superhero movies essentially say, okay, what characters do we have the rights to? And which haven't we used yet, so let's make one of those. We have the rights to Black Adam, we haven't made a Black Adam movie yet, therefore we're making a Black Adam movie, right? That kind of thing. Not to pick just on that character, but that's like one example where it's more driven by like what IPs do we own? And you can see this like when you see these big roadmaps that companies like Disney and Warner Brothers and all of these outfits put out. It's just names of characters. It's not about story. It's not about what is actually happening in this movie. It's just, here's the Wonder Woman one, here's the Blue Beetle one, here's the Black Adam one, right? I've said for a long time that if superhero movies want to be proper movies and want to be overall better, what they need to do is pick villains that support the story you want to tell, and not pick a villain because they haven't been used yet and then just find a story for them. So in this, it's about fear and symbols and power and things like that. And so all the villains tie into the idea of fear in some way. So we have Falcone, the mobster, who rules Gotham through fear. Like, everybody's afraid of what he might do if you cross him. And then we've got Ra's al Ghul and the League of Shadows, who use mystery and theatrics and fear to exercise power over people, right? They are not so much about being powerful, they're about kind of working in the shadows and people being afraid of what they might do or what they're capable of doing. And then obviously we have Scarecrow, whose entire thing is causing fear, right? So all of those hang together thematically, and those then tie back to what the story is about, and all of that facilitates a hero who uses fear and the symbol of fear to do good. I just get a kick out of that, right? The entire thing just hangs together, and the entire thing reinforces each other. These villains were picked very specifically to tell that story specifically. And if you used other villains, you could not tell the same story. I think it's a huge part of why this movie works.
I don't know what it is, but I think, is it a thing where these filmmakers think, let's just give them like a whole theatrical CGI fest and the story won't really mean as much, which is like, that's not true whatsoever. Like, for me, like Godzilla -1, for example, what separates that Godzilla from other Godzilla movies is that had a really good story, even though you could tell that CGI in that movie wasn't way as good as the other, as the other Godzilla movies, right? But why that was better than the other Godzilla movies, because it had a good story. So I think that's what a lot of these movies are missing. I think that's what Batman had. It had a really good story. It was very cohesive. Like, there's just the story structure, everything linked to, like you said, the themes. So it did have the best story out of all the Batmans that we have seen.
It's just a very clean story, right? Like, we talked about how the villains tie into the theme, and that same theme informs what Bruce Wayne does and why he does it. A large chunk of this is Bruce Wayne assembling the Batman persona, right? The costume and the gimmicks and the Batmobile and all of these things, like the Bat Signal gets invented in this. And all of it is like very gradually and very meticulously justified, where you say, okay, this is not simply there because that's what we know from the comics.